Hello, hello, welcome to the Rob Viewers. Hope you're having a good one. If not, we'll change that. Especially because tonight is Division 1. When we get going yet again for another Top Flight HRA stream. Just wait for people to pour in and then we'll speak about the prospect for today. There is chances for upsets around Hungary. We saw it in Division 2. But we'll talk a bit more about it when more people get in. And the big story as we come into this race now, as people start flooding in, is the incredible turnaround from the man, the mysterious Quattro. Not mysterious, but he's taken his first win last season of the season, and it wasn't just a win, it propelled him into the lead of the championship by 10 points with post-race penalties applied there. So what an incredible prospect we have now. This season has come alive because Quattro is in the lead of the championship. Luck or not, BS drive-through, which I've watched the onboard from Kusky. It was a stupid drive-through. His delta didn't even go red. But there you go, EA for you. Well, EA, just the F1 game in general. Just waiting for people to get into the lobby, into the stream. If you join in, hello. Yeah, how's it going? I've got chat open and everything. That's why stream was a couple minutes late, because I made sure that I had the ping ready on my phone. I've got the Discord open in my hand on my phone. And I've got chat up already. And last time, just as some filler for not so relevant content, but last time we saw an incredible fight. Hampan, Trappy, and NZ produced arguably one of the greatest battles we have seen in HRA history. A full lap, a full race pretty much, of just pure fighting. Just letting everyone know in chat that the stream is up. Just waiting for a couple more drivers to get in here. No Maslin today. It's one less threat for the likes of Quattro and Kusky. Because Kusky may be the one looking for redemption for last year. He's gone third, second in the championship over the past 2 seasons. He's looking to complete the 3-2-1 as the likes of Degrassi did in Formula E before he got his title. Yeah. Hello, championship leader, eh? Fucking hell, lad. As I was saying before you got in, Kevin, BS drive-through or not, for Kusky, championship leaders, championship lead. But at the end of the day, it's not one of them championship leads that you can start getting in your head about, and that will be something that will be crucial for Quattro, is staying on top of the mental game, because quite frankly, as a driver who don't usually give a wad about what's going on, for trying not to swear, he will just drive his own races. You know, we've still got 8 races to go, including this one. Yeah, a stupid drive through. Kevin knows it. And he's still got 8 races to go. So he'll do his bit, help his teammate, win the races he can. And at the end of it, if he lucks his way into a championship fight, this track never finished in the top 3. I thought this used to be your bread and butter, this track. Hungary, I remember. I don't know what it was, but you know, other tracks back before you got a wheel and before you made your big steps that you have lately, it was a second gap at all other tracks, but this one was just a couple temps. Yeah, just don't be a Sterling Moss and go saying, oh, I'll get other chances, and then be known as the greatest driver never to win a championship at HRA. Take chances you get, but at the same time, yeah, support him. Be a good teammate while he has the pace, but as soon as that switches up, Red Bull is going to get spicy, and we're going to go from a Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen dynamic of Ricciardo getting his foot in every now and then. I was going to say Ricciardo, Verstappen, Perez, but that's... Nah, Quattro's been performing better than Perez. So more of a Verstappen, Ricciardo dynamic where Verstappen's just that little bit quicker, but Ricciardo still gets his nose in. And quickly this will become a Webber Vettel where Kasky's got the pace, but Webber is always there 90% of the time in a race where Seb wasn't purely horrifically dominant. Webber would give him a run for his money. Yeah. Good mindset from Kevin, from Quattro in chat, saying if he's ahead, he's focusing on himself, his own race, because he's there for a reason. Unless he's behind him. Unless Kasky is behind Quattro. In which case, I'll think about helping. If he's behind, he's going to defend to help out for Kasky. The perfect wingman. But wingman can quickly go rogue as soon as they find their feet. And that is something that I'm looking forward to. I don't think Quattro is the sort of person to make a mid-season switch up like that, especially when it won't affect his championship. In fact, I know he's not the sort of driver to do that. He'll support his teammate all the way through. But now, I've been waffling. We've got the prospect of a Hungary qualifying session. Monaco without the barriers here. And they don't call it that for no reason. "13 drivers. Edvir as well, to mention, had a good race in Division 2 before he got screwed over by the safety car. Fair play, Kevin. Alright, we've got drivers leaving their pit boxes, ready to get going here at Hungary in transit. Saying he's on the medium, so I don't think we'll quality on the mediums straight away. It's a track you can get full runs in if you are on it. Yeah. Well, you're 10 points ahead in the championship. Hold it while you can. Of course, be that teammate, but I'd say whenever you find yourself ahead in the championship, gun for it. But don't put too much pressure on yourself, because at the end of the day, you're still in a team dynamic that's quite friendly. A friendly team dynamic is one that will work together and ultimately provide each other the points. 10 points are still more than a first to second. That's You know, if Custom finishes first and Quattro finishes third, Quattro will still be in the fight. And even then, you know, it's good to have a cushion in the championship and not be hemorrhaging points to your teammate, because he had a poor race last time now. But we're talking about it as if Kevin's got a massive chance of winning the title, which he does. But I mean, to be fair to Kevin, he's been on the podium every race this season. The only driver to do so on the grid as well. Not even his teammate has completed that statistic, off the podium twice. Once in China, once in the UK, so hasn't finished higher than 4th since Belgium round 2, where he won the race. So is this a dip for Kuski, or is it a dip in luck? Because luck comes into every championship challenge. So it will ultimately be skill that makes up that little tiny difference, but luck may swing it either way. So we've got drivers now on their flying laps. I can be as loud as I want today because your boy home alone, so you best bet I'm going to make sure comms is fire. I've got my beer, I've got HRA action, and we've got Kuski on his flying lap. Into the S's we go, into the chicane we go, sorry. Being very cautious with the curves. He knows they're auto spin if you hit him wrong. Once again, just being light with them apexes. Nursing the front tyres, seeing how they react to the current track temperature. Hampan goes fastest, 17.4 for the Ferrari man. The purple middle sector. Trappy goes fastest, 16.7. Now the times are starting to tumble. Davidas tops that again, 16.5. The times are tumbling here. And as the Red Bull dives the front end right on the gutter on the inside there, DRS open. Let's see what Kuski can do. 15.9. That is more like it's 6 tenths ahead of Davidas. He's got cars in the background crossing the line. Edvir goes P4. Trappy, Ash goes P2. The likes of Intronsic. We've got Sammy coming to finish a lap. Pickle goes P7. Sammy goes into P2. Yellow flags are out. That's a car. Here in 2 blues. Getting out the way of a quicker car. Intronsic only 7th. Time to find there for him. Ended will be the last of the cars to finish. Next up will be Quattro. Where will he put his car? Provisional pole. And look at that for a lap. Ended with the usual people cheering him on, of course. An incredible performance last time out. Arguably one of the greatest drives, well, no, the greatest drive Ended has ever had in HRA. It was absolutely incredible. Come away with his 2nd P4 of the season. But round 1 he got 2 points on the board, so P9. And round 3 he got 6 points on the board, so I believe that is a P7. And yet he's had 2 4th places and sits 7th in the championship standings, right on the back of Trappy, right on the back of George as well, who will be a factor here if his Wi-Fi holds up. That is incredible, to be 3 points off of last season's winner, who's having a stinker at the start of the season here. Maz, who's attended only 3 races, sits in 3rd, and of course Kuski and Quattro out front by a substantial margin here. Ended went 3rd. What an incredible... Yeah, we've got 2 people here supporting Ended. He is arguably one of the most popular in the chat. An underdog in an Alpine. Giving Ocon vibes, but he's, you know, Ended's actually likeable. I threw that one in there. So, Kuski says he's up on the Delta, and he is pushing again to improve on that same set of tyres. Why not? He's gone a 10th up compared to his PB in the middle sector. And a nice lap here from Kuski, just looking to get his foot in the door. And top of the stream I said this is a track that I've seen Quattro back in the days when I'd got a racing wheel when everyone else does. That's a 15.5. Back in the days I had a racing wheel and everyone else didn't, so that's the only reason I was this much quicker than them 4 years ago. the likes of Quattro, some of my closer mates, I was even 1+ seconds a lap faster at most tracks, especially Monaco. God, I love Monaco. But around here, Quattro was always on me. I might have the edge every now and then, but when the track was right, when everything was coming together, Quattro was an incredible driver. Thank you, Innocent and Swaggy Acorn. Innocent, is that a Wavy or Waxy? Wavy. That's a cool name. It's got my dyslexic ass trying to figure out how it's said. Wavy. I got it right the first time. I got it in my own head, damn it. Yeah, thanks for the compliments there. As I always say, I'm just talking, communicating what I see in front of me, and I've got to say, your boy ended last time round. My God, my voice was hurting the next day, but Jesus, it was worth it. That was one of those where I was watching it the next day at work. I mean, I commentated on it. I knew what happened in the race, but I actively went to watch it because how incredible it was. And at one point, I think I broke down laughing midway through the fight after a lap of it. George on a flyer though. Let's see what he can do. Of course, left to his own devices as Max unable to compete part of the season. He's some things that he's gonna get through, and he'll be back stronger than ever. So that's George going purple in the middle. Go on board, see how committed he is, right on the limit of that first apex. Missed the second one slightly, but that does stabilise the exit. Less steering lock, of course, means you can apply the throttle quicker, smoother, and ultimately get more of a launch out the corner. Very strong, very nice commitment. Maybe could have carried a little more speed, but it's only a banker right in the curb on entry, missing the apex, because you can use all of that exit curb here as we go to the off-board camera. This is an inside gutter. You do not want to get a wheel in because it hooks the rear end round rather than hooking the front as a conventional curb would. Once again, right on the gutter. He blasts all 1,000 of the horses to the line, goes provisional pole, and that is the George we know and love. Reigning champion, of course. Do not count him out of this season. He could go on an absolute Verstappen form of run here against the Red Bulls, which would be something incredible. Ironland as well, good performance from him, P5. He got unlucky last time round. A decent qualifying from the Williams last time round, and they got binned out early on, Ironland. So he'll be looking for redemption, and he's one hell of a driver to do it. Probably one of the nicest people on the grid as well. If you ever get a chance to chat with him over voice, he's nothing but smiles. Sammy on a flyer as well. A little bit of understeer in the mid-corner. That limits his exit. But no, into the pits. Not happy with the lap, clearly. There's Davidas on a fly. Yes, he is. Let's have a look at this from the Ferrari man. We try and give everyone a little bit of action here. But then we get to the end, and then it's all about them top drivers as they hunt for pole. But for now, we've still got about 7.5 minutes left in this session. Let's look at that for a camera. Flick to the onboard camera through this corner, through this section. It's an incredibly odd track to qualify here. I believe you derate coming out of the last corner and across the line, which means you run out of deployment for that lap for the battery hybrid system. So you can be tactical throughout the lap, and through them S's you can turn it off, which also means that your tyres get punished less because they start to overheat at the end. Davidas dives into the pit, so we couldn't see that derating there. Let's have a look. Any other drivers on flyers? Ended into the pits, still P4. Strong from Ended, of course, quite a way off, but ahead of his vastly more experienced teammate in Tromzik, who knows HRA like the back of his hand. It's Kasky, here we go. He's down on his time, but he will look to improve. Obviously, right on track limits there. Gusky, the cream of the crop. He's gone a little bit wide there and dives into the pits. Not happy with it then. But yeah, tyres as you get towards the end of a flying lap around Hungary are a big limitation, because they start to overheat, especially that front left. The core temperature of the tyre rises above about 103, 104 degrees centigrade, and then it starts to hit a cliff very fast, and you get a lot of understeer, a lot of front slide in that leads to more temperature, more issues, and it just snowballs into an avalanche that will quickly put you in a barrier around here, most especially at that penultimate corner, that hairpin. As there's one driver on a flying lap, Ash, I'm not sure if he's on a flyer or not. On an out lap then. Double warm up for Ash. We'll keep an eye on what he can do here. The AlphaTauri, of course, rebranded to Racing Bulls, or RB as they're calling it. They say they're not Racing Bulls, but let's be real, they've renamed all their socials to Racing Bulls. They just don't want to be called Racing Bulls. But VCarb, as they will be called. I don't know, I might call them RB, might call them Toro Rosso, I don't know. It's all up in the air as to whatever the commentary call them, IRL, the commentary team, I will adopt that. Just to keep things correlated as Ash dives through the tricky section. A very incredibly difficult traction zone, it has to be said. Exiting them last couple of corners, you've got to get it right as you do this one, all over the exit, apex and entry, exit and apex curbs, just to maximize the lap time. As you click to onboard through this section, this is one hell of a corner. You've got to be damn committed using all of the track. He is 4 tenths up on his fastest lap time. This, as it stands, would stick him just above end dead if he can hold it clean. But it's a little wide of the apex. Just gets in that gutter there, which will make you hesitate on the apex. Every driver out there knows the issue of it. Incredibly late apex there, but again, their steering lock, more throttle, and more of a rocket to the line where he goes P4. Strong lap time, and it bumps end dead, and the rest of them all down one position. Bring Toro Rosso back. I know, bring them back. They partially brought the livery back. They brought the blue and red back, which works with the Orland sponsor. That's what I was saying. Just instead of having the Honda logo on the side, have the Orland logo, because their red and white branding works. Because, in my opinion, the best, one of the top 3 liveries of the last decade, 2017 Toro Rosso. Oh my goodness me. That is the one car that I saw IRL back in my first season watching F1. We went to the British Grand Prix in 2017, and oh my goodness me, it was an incredible car. But I don't mind the liveries these days with the black. I get the carbon black, but it's the same reason I wasn't really a big fan of the black Mercedes last season, because the top half matte painted black, yes, beautiful black. The bottom was just carbon, and carbon overused. Of course, McLaren using their stealth livery and that had basically less paint. They removed the blue, that was it. Haas, of course, the black, carbon black sort of suits them because it's Haas. They do CNC machines, they do materials, stuff like that. That is their bread and butter. So it kind of works with their branding, works with the colour scheme, the white, red, and of course the carbon black. But for me, that Alpine has got to be the ugliest car of this, probably this generation of cars, yeah. The McLaren in 2022 was pretty bad, but considering, I mean, look at that. That's a decent livery. But there's paint on the car. Alpine forgot the paint. It's like the designer just accidentally cropped half the paint job a week before they, like the night before they put it on the car, and just went, alright, I won't tell anyone. And the thing that bugs me is, I know Alpine have Sean Ball Designs working on their liveries, so if you've ever seen his concept liveries, you know This man knows how to make a livery, but because of the demands of modern F1 and the weight saving, you know, 300 grams off the car like that, as George gets a disconnect, I'll get him back in the session ASAP. It ain't it. It works on some cars, but let's be real, not very many. George, current provisional pole sitter. I'll rant more about the liveries once we're done qualifying, because I could talk about it all day, because I'm quite opinionated about F1, as that's a little wide of the first apex there for Kuski. AlphaTauri behind him. George has joined. It means he can't get his final flying lap in. I bet he was about to leave the pits as well. Incredibly tough to deal with as a driver when you get issues like that. Here we go for Kuski. This is the one that really matters. The final flying lap. He's still in it. Foot to the floor. But will it be enough for the Red Bull man to slap it on pole position? He's been there or thereabouts all season. It is provisional pole for Kuski, pending a response from this man, Quattro, who now will be feeling the pressure using all the track. You can see a Haas ahead of him as traffic that will be giving him a tiny bit of dirty air, because that Haas of Pickle is on a flying lap, but a much slower car compared to these leaders, no offense Pickle. And he may cause some issues here for Quattro's lap time, as he does. Big snap of oversteer. And unable to improve. That Haas ever-looming car in front of you. No matter how much you try to ignore it, it will distract you. And Quattro, P3 in qualifying. Let's see where the rest of the grid can go. Ended, he is up by only 300ths, but it wouldn't be enough to promote him, as Intronsic has improved by a couple tenths. So Ended maybe trying to look behind him at other cars who might possibly overlap him. A good improvement of a tenth and a half. Keeps him safe to the likes of Sammy. And there is your grid, barring this lap from Ash. I think he may be off it a little bit. Oh, actually, still in contention with them splits through the final corners. Is it an improvement from Ash? No, does not improve. And it would have been, had to have been an almighty improvement to push him up the grid. So it's Kuski, provisional pole. Provisional pole for George, but after a disconnect, Kuski snagged it at the last. Quattro distracted by the Haas at the last corner. Exactly as I was commentating, Kevin. I thought I might have distracted you talking about the Haas, but the dirty air, as you can see, we are on board with Quattro, and at the apex of the corner, just the aero wash from that Haas. A little bit of downforce reduction while you're on the limit is incredibly noticeable. And it just meant that the rear end, the floor was not working as intended. Kevin lost his lap because of the traffic. Again, being graceful, saying it was not Pickle's fault in any way. Pickle was on his own flying lap, but a bummer for Quattro. And he now has a lot of work to do here. Once again, an early apology to anyone who's sort of new to the stream. I yawn a lot because, you know, this is later in my day for my routine. You know, in bed at 9:30, up at 6:30 sort of person for work. So apologies for any yawning. Trust me, the racing ain't boring. It's far from it. They're saying that Hungary can sometimes throw up a bit of a stinker. HRA, one of those leagues, never disappoints, because we saw it. Thank you. Weavy, yeah, Weavy, yeah, definitely. Wavy, yeah. We saw it though in Division 2. Not my yawning. We saw one thing in particular, strategy. Both strategy with the safety cars. That caused a lot of turmoil with drivers like Ed Veer losing out. His teammate Glorious Striker, I believe, lost out in one of the safety car periods. They both fought back up, but it wouldn't really hit the same spot for them. Of course, A5 lost out to strategy, got caught in the midst of some battles, made some mistakes, and ultimately comes out of it nearly losing the championship lead. after it all. 4 points, I believe I calculated that down to at the top of Division 2. And as well, setups. Such a massive difference. You think they're all high downforce setups, but some have that bit more wing to have that bit more responsiveness. Manage the tyres slightly nicer. But some of them have that tiny bit less wing, so it means you have to manage more in the corners. You can carry the same speed, but you have to manage more. A5 saying he don't think about it. Yeah, wash it to the back of the mind. That's the only way to get past drive things like that. Put it to the back of your mind, learn what you can, forget it. Never happened. At the end of the season you go, oh yeah, that happened. You can either say that was a turning point, or that was a point where I got my head down and bolted into the distance. There's only two ways for it to go when a race like that happens. You can let it define your form for the next couple rounds, or you can say, nah, not like this. Hopefully your start is good. Don't jinx yourself like that, Kevin. Don't you do it, lad. It's easy to do. Every time I think, damn, I need a good start here, I dropped from P3 to P18 at the start and got spun around on turn 1. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, ultimately, you learn things from drives like that. That's what makes the good great and the great unbeatable. You can never know it all. And that's a fun bit about racing. Just when you think you're the best, just when you think no one can beat you, someone quicker comes along and beats you. There's only a select 2 or 3 drivers in the world who, in their own disciplines, are the definition of unbeatable. Thinking Verstappen, thinking certain rally drivers across history, but even they were beatable. And as well, separates the good from the great and all that jazz is the mindset. Ultimately, some people come in it for fun, and that can actually be quite a refresher. If you went to a race thinking, do you know what, I had a bad one last time out, I'm just going to go out there, have a bit of fun, see if I can reignite that spark. It works. I mean, I did it in my karting race a week ago. I didn't expect anything. I expected, they've invited me to their pro league, I'm going to turn up and get romped. I finished P4 overall out of 60 drivers. It's mindset at the end of the day. If you're in a happy place, your car will be in that place too. And it'll often be on the top step. I'm intrigued, truly, to see setup, to see weather. Can see the odd bit. It sucks. Just got to make sure that missing that race don't get you down, you know. You got to truly get that head down, build up at 25 points cushion so you can turn up, still go, alright, I'm in the championship lead, back where we left off. As watching on as you get robbed of points and championships is not fun. As Davidus is disconnected, we've got 5 red lights here, so I'll invite him once you've had all this chaos and carnage. Out that 1, here we go then, lights out and away we go. Decent start from Kusky. Poor one from George though, side by side with Quattro, off the line, 4 wide as we head into turn 1 between the Alpines. A McLaren and an Alpha Tauri in there, who's now going side by side with his teammate and the Ferrari of Hampan. Further back, things kicking off then. Side by side in Tronzik and Ended. Ended looking to stick it around the outside, loses out there. Has got to be careful with Sammy here. Getting the switchback, getting more momentum down the hill. We saw a collision there in the previous race, but no such turmoil here. Everyone, for once at Hungary, through cleanly. Need Piastri to mess up. He's had a couple inconsistent strategies here and there, but oh, that's someone going off wide. That's Trappy taking the adventurous line through the chicane, and that will do his lap time. No good. He's down to P12. Kusky bolts out the front then. George Quattro and Tronzik. We've got every car still within a second of each other. Oh, big snap for Davidas, for Hampan. We'll save Davidas' DNF because of him leaving. So that was a voluntary leaving of the session then. As this is to the inside of Ironland goes Hampan. Do they get through there? All right, let's see. Do they navigate it? Oh, there's been a collision, unfortunately, and Ironland in the wall. VSC deployed. When will this man's luck pick back up? He's not having a good time of things right now. He dives into the pits for a new front wing. And you have to feel for him, because he just cannot escape these crashes right now. They're never his fault either. And it sucks to see, as a backer of Ironland, I'll say openly, I back Ironland, I back Quattro, and I back Maslan. I do have my biases, but I'll be open about them. And Ironland, it sucks to see because he's such a fast driver on his day, but he just gets involved in these tussles in the mid-pack, which he's trying to break away from pace-wise, but he can't break away because he ain't getting the race time because he's getting binned out by drivers who, if they had his caliber of side-by-side ability, he'd be fine with the battles. But that's not saying the other drivers are bad, it's just Ironland knows how to go side-by-side. It's slowly down in 12th for Ironland, but is very, very tight up at the front for Kuski, George Quattro, and Tron. In fact, everyone is in this fight, all the way down to P8, Mr. Pickle. Congrats to him for the start as well. He's gone all the way from P13 to P8. What an incredible start to the race for him. DRS enabled. He has dropped off this top battle a little bit. But he does have Edvir, Trappy and Hampan going to be fighting out ahead of him. In fact, we may even see a move here from Trappy. Looks to the inside. He's right on the back of Edvir. Of course, Edvir qualified, I believe, second in Division 2, off the top of my head. And he's still fighting out for points here in Div 1, so an incredible super sub here for the Williams team. And they have to be careful there. That'll be a warning as well for Trappy. Things still hotting up at the top. Top 7. It's Trappy and Edvir. There they go. Trappy to the outside. Steams past. Incredible racecraft. And Hampan will look to follow and demote Edvir out of the points paying positions. And Williams, despite there only being 2 cars running, are at risk of having both them cars out the points with only 12 cars on the grid. It's a little bit wide at the apex for Edvir. He's getting in his own head here. He's got to settle back down into a rhythm, and that is one hell of a rhythm from Kuski. Goes fastest, but he is not really in a rhythm. Right now he is pushing like mad because he sees this car in his rear view. The green machine, the George Plaster. A man who is the reigning champion after the season before that, having the greatest championship decider I've ever seen fall against him. He was forced onto the sidelines by another driver. He was already in championship position before getting into a fight at Abu Dhabi. It caused him to be out the race. Apologies for controller disconnects as well. I do my comms and movements on keyboard, as you can see from the prompts. F7, F8, and I use F6 to go on board with cars. It works for me. Speaking of, let's hide the UI, and let's enable all our telemetry. Position changes, just quick rundown. Ironland down 4, Hampan down 1, Edvir's moved up, Ended and Tronzik and Sammy have moved up because Ash has had a poor start. Pickle up 5 as well. There are all the movers. We'll get the tyre graphic up, that's quite an important one. We will close this down, and we will keep an eye on this because George, he's not having a good season here, and he can't afford the usual scraps with Kuski. He's got to get into the wind and use it to fly ahead in every race the rest of this season to even stand a chance against these guys. Because racing Red Bull is not something you want to be doing. especially with connection issues, which no matter what's going on track, if there's any connection issues for drivers, as long as it's not that one, they'll be invited back in, which once again is well, I've got to say props to HRA for allowing, and the admins for allowing this account to exist, and providing all the facilities. The gaps are starting to spread out here, a rhythm truly starting to be found. But the rhythm in HRA is not something you need, because it can always get disrupted at any moment. It's the nature of league racing. Just feel like you're waiting for that shot of adrenaline to hit the drivers in the form of a VSC or even a full safety car. I've already seen one VSC this race for Ironland, who's 33 seconds off the back, sort of running his own race here. A5s then tell me about it to the safety cars. Yeah, no comment. Just unfortunate, mate. And pan on the back of Edvir. That's a fight that's starting to, starting to evolve. It's been stagnant for a few laps. This is why they call it Monaco about the barriers. Look at that. Kasky, despite George's electric qualifying pace in the early runs. Huh? Pickle is losing sand? Huh? He's keeping that gap to Trappy even. And he's losing Ash, if that's what you mean. You're calling Ash sand. That's, well, that'll be the lowest of the low in terms of insults. Quattro, though, sticking with George, doing his bit here. Like to be a couple positions high. Sand cloud behind him. Ah. Hey, I got nothing against Trappy, not after last race, man. Sand cloud. I do believe it was Trappy going for the adventure on lap 1, so. The gravel man. Nah, Pickle. What you got against Pickle? What? He's chill, he's just trying to get points on the board in Div 1. And it's not being the easiest for the Pickle man. Weekly sandbagging comment. Oh my gosh, that shot over my head. Yeah. I mean, he stopped sandbagging. I mean, look at the apex there. That's Incinerator in disguise, honestly. Shocking. Like the start of 2021 when everyone thought Mercedes, and 2022 and 2023 when everyone's like, yeah, Mercedes are sandbagging and tested, it's fine. He'll turn up and be the quickest come round 1. And each season just get worse and worse. Let's hope Pickle can be on the up, he's a nice guy. But this is our closest fight on track then, Ash and Sammy. Sammy the debutant this season in HRA and in Division 1. He's hoping to find a permanent home here because he's quite a good driver. Kinjo Sensei in chat, if anyone ever sees him lurking about. A bit of a lurker in terms of viewing. He chats every now and then, but it's mostly here. Ah, you know, I'll still watch you back. Yeah, he'll see the jokes flying over the top of my head as well. He's driving a decent race so far. Touchwood, he's in P8. I'm not going to commentator's curse it like I did last time, where I say he's going to run a good race and then see him in the barrier literally half a corner later. Did that to another driver a couple of races ago. I think it was Davidus in China. as Ash is still with him, but right now things stagnating. We'll see a bit of a strategy game here with the likes of the medium runners at the back of the field. They lack pace in this stint. The tyres will start to come to them about now. Yeah, Kai. Jesus, A5, your memory is bonkers, mate. Need you in this comms box up with me, mate. I think there would be a bit of conflict of interest. I think we might be backing a certain team. I don't know. Out of all the allegations as well, mate. Shocking, you're gonna lose your job. Sorry, had to throw shade. It's going to be hard for Red Bull if Christian Horner is found guilty of them things, because, yeah, you got to get rid of him. He's being controlling, manipulative, and particularly to women, as it's a bit of a fight, particularly to women. As oh, George has got a disconnect. No, no, no. Robbed of a good race yet again. Oh man. George, sort out the cable, boss. This might invite Ended and Intronsic back in the mix for a podium, which I'm sure we'll have a couple people in the chat drooling. George rejoins. I'm hot on them invites for him, but this will hurt his race and mean that he is demoted out of DRS contention with Quattro. But he'll regain control of his car very, very shortly, and we can get him back in the race. Yeah, no complaints from Red Bull. A 1-3 goes to a 1-2. And George on the back foot here, regains control of his car and sets closing back in on Quattro. Will now be a rear gunner. Allowed Intronsic to close back up. We can now see the leading pack, and has steadily been working into this race. Once again, rhythm on his side, big timers. Here's Summit between Ash and Sammy. Sammy to the inside, looking to take this position. They're side by side on the exit, the corner. Where's Ash? There he is. He is behind for now, but this might rage and wage and all that on through the next couple corners, as looking to straighten out the line is Ash. Still with the use of overtake, might be able to poke his nose up the inside at the fast left. He's got some overspeed here, but unable to do anything here. Great stuff from Sammy. He holds the position from Ash. I believe that is a defensive manoeuvre from Sammy. Yes, it is. But the softs are floundering and failing, as you can see there. A snap at the apex of the corner allows Ash to sneak through. So now it's advantage Ash in this battle, and Sammy will have to bully them front tyres, which, as I was talking about in quali, the carcass of the tyre starts to overheat when you push them, especially on softs, and especially when they are over that 40-50% wear margin, where they start to lose out time compared to the mediums. So Sammy, that's been his issue through the chicane, sliding about. He is slipping and sliding away from Ash here, who looks to bolt and use the most of these medium tyres. He's got past the obstacle for now, but Sammy may look to respond down the second DRS straight, pending a decent exit from turn 1. Touch wood. Thankfully I said that, because a bit of a snap there from Sammy. Held it though, but you can see from the stance and how that McLaren is handling. Look at the steering inputs fluctuating left, right, left, right, left, right. That means he feels he's got no confidence in the rear of that McLaren. He doesn't know if it's going to step out on him under load, and they're even there on throttle, having to be tentative for that last bit of power, although he's all over the inside curbs here. Sammy on a mission. George is too. Look at that. He's gained about 7 tenths in the last 2 laps, which at the top, that is incredible gains. He's having to gain that much because he knows that he's going to lose out if he doesn't sort it out. Sammy may have lost this one out permanently. He's just trying to recover DRS because, remember, this is a double detection DRS zone. So that detection, that little green point you see on the mini-map, doesn't just do that first straight, it's both of them. So if you can get the move done on the first straight, you will have the DRS for the second as well. So look at this. This is going to gain him even more time. And having, as Pickle dives into the pits, first car to pit, having this car to drag you along, keep you in that DRS zone, is gaining him in easily upwards of 4-5 tenths a lap in terms of lap time. And when you're on the weaker tyre, that is one hell of a place to be in. So as long as Sammy can be here, he'll use a bit of overtake to stay in it, because Sammy's a smart driver. He'll know that is it. That is the meta to stay in check for this race. If you have a hard time doing it this lap as that's wide yet again, he's got to be careful because the tyres are starting to fail him here. He does not have the mechanical platform that he wants anymore, and that in turn will mean he can't carry the speed and he can't have the aero platform he wants. It is one hell of an issue when your tyres start to wear. It's even worse back in olden days, let's say, when tyres, well, these days they tend to hit a cliff quite sharp. Tyres have a realistic pace deficit, and first 3 laps is where they do the majority of their fast times, and then they drop off by a couple tenths, and then they steadily plateau. And he is right at the end of that plateau, teetering on the edge of the cliff, but he is balancing on that. Just if he'll slip, or if he'll be able to ride it all the way, but he's putting Ash under some pressure here, and despite being on the faster compound tyre, Ash is going to have to go defensive here, and Sammy is going to have a go round the outside. Have a look at this one. Keeps the nose in. He's given the squeeze by Ash. And once again, they're all over each other, and there's contact there, as there was in Division 2. A little less in the way of spinalating here. That's a move that A5 will be familiar with. Sorry, had to throw shade. As he himself got into that situation, just didn't gauge it right, didn't lift off the foot just enough, underestimating the fact that the car ahead of him had to lift because of compromised line, and splat. But it was not race ruined for that driver who got rotated. He ended up finishing P5, so at the end of the day, it all worked out. Got cars starting to pit, George and Intronsic into the pits then. Ented will have to go longer here on these tyres. Will Ash dive into the pits? Will Sammy dive into the pits? No. But one of our leading 3 cars, crucially, is into the pits then. Race just hitting a bit of a lull here before strategy comes into it. Of course, a little bit less chaos in the high divisions. Is everyone more refined? It may seem insulting, but that's the reason why they're there. As George looking to make light work of Hampan. This is another factor for the leaders. Once you get up to the front pace-wise, you then have to contend with traffic management, which may hit him hard here. Edvir into the pits, and he'll get DRS out of Edvir. That's crucial for him. It's Quattro's into the pits then. And exiting. This is going to be incredibly tight between himself and George. They're side by side exiting the pits. What will this come out as? And it comes out as George getting the place. And the DRS is looking to run into the distance here, may even break Quattro. Quattro's tyres need to get into their operating range. That is a crucial overcut there from George. Cannot underestimate how big that is. And it's also been an undercut that's allowed Intronsic to get into the mix. Look at that, teetering on the edge. Get my words out in the end. Teetering on the edge of that DRS gap, which will help him stay on the back of this pack and be yet another factor here. As you have to expect Kusky and Ended. Indeed, Kusky into the pits. Ended will follow suit. He's going to have lost out big time in this pit stop phase, but it's going to help him come back to him as here's side by side. That's George getting past Ash. Once again, good traffic management there. And Quattro will have to deal with Ash. He's all over the back of him there, but he's lost out time. And Intronsic will gain from this Ash. Sorry, it's not Ash, it's Trappy. What am I talking about? Trappy sort of makes a bit of time loss there. As George on the back of Kusky now, following the pit stops. Yes, 2 lap older tyres, so they will drop off their performance peak in about a lap and a half for George. Kusky will get a couple more laps, so ultimately he'll gain back some of that time, but not all of it, not by any stretch of the imagination. And now it's game on at the top yet again. But Intronsic is just slow enough for him to be in that buffer, and he's now going to have to sling it down the inside of Trappy. Doesn't, and this is taking him out of podium contention even quicker than he got into it. Not good for the Alpine man. All over the back of the AlphaTauri, but there's nothing he can do here. Stuck behind for an entire sector, and that gap has gone from a second just a lap ago to well over 2.8 seconds. And Intronsic will be furious, not just with the car ahead, but with himself. A little lack of pace and traffic management in such. As I'm saying, if you're not used to being at the top, Intronsic is, but not on the regular, you can quickly find yourself fumbling in traffic management. And that has let the leaders run rampant into the distance. But Kusky, I said about that tyre advantage that will be coming into play about now. But the delta really not on his side. The field has closed back up again. Pickle being passed there by Ash, who has just completed his first lap on the new tyres. Makes light work of Pickle. And with half the race to go, things can still spice up. Ironland sort of losing ground at the back of the field, just enjoying a nice Friday night drive. Having a bit of fun out there. Getting experience in. Waiting for that safety car. But even if he does get that safety car, he will still have to wait to pit, because the leaders may not pit, but he may pit and go a lap down. And there's no let this lap safety car through. We cannot have an Abu Dhabi 21 in F1 games. It is impossible. So unfortunately lap cars cannot be allowed through. So once you're lapped, it's pretty much game over in this game, barring safety car where you can unlap yourself as others pit, and you can pit a couple laps later once you close that 30 seconds comfortable gap up. The gap at the front, anything but comfortable here. 6 tenths separating the top. Quattro's just starting to fall off here a little bit, but he's going to drive his own race, try and get in his own rhythm. He still has a lot to learn in the top flight. Of course, Kusky and George is their 3rd season at the top. Quattro's had a go before in the realistic. Of course, hanging it out to the likes of Kush, a HRA legend, who sadly to not, because he didn't get the game straight away, is falling behind the curve on this one and doesn't race as much. So out front then, the only real battle. I'm going to change my song because I've been listening to the same Brazilian funk on repeat since top of the stream, really. George looks to close in. It's a lot to pass here. It's even more to hold it. Especially with the tyre disadvantage. I only think, oh, it's only 2 laps. Watch in league racing how the difference at top flight of esports, the difference between a tyre that's got 3 laps less, 2 laps less even, is mental. You have to be able to extract the most out of the tyre. That's where these two come into play. Normally this wouldn't make much of a difference, but these two at the peak of their powers at the moment in HRA. Well, we hope for the sake of competitiveness they're at the peak, but you have a feeling they'll only get better and better. George is right teetering on the edge of losing DRS, but he's holding it for now. It is tight. He's right on the edge there. Has ended. It's closed up to the long, deep running car of Trappy, running very, very deep into the race here, hoping for a safety car, and ended up into P5 then. Yes, another solid end-dead drive here. Drive that is quickly establishing himself in the mid-pack as one of those to beat. He's going to lose out ground to George, obviously, because behind this, 3 points behind George. Out of it, it'll be more than that, but George ultimately should not be that low in the championship. Just his internet doing that. But despite a disconnect, Aston Martin is inevitable. He nearly did it in Alpine. He certainly did it in Mercedes. And he'll look to make it 3 title fights in a row. Of course, he's fallen off, but yet again, not his fault, but this may be his fault pace-wise. He's dropped off the back of Kuski, who has dipped. We'll ditch the interval gap for a second, see his fastest is Quattro. 17.8. Trappy finally caves. He's into the pits. I may well promote indeed, but does promote Pickle. Back up into P8, back where he was. Trappy is going to come out well down. That man has a mission. And you expect him to do the ultimate comeback here. The leaders close in on the back of Ironland here. That traffic may invite a chance here for George to get DRS despite not being in that second gap. But you highly doubt it. Nothing much going on in terms of racing here, but yes, there's something. And Pan closing up to the back of Pickle. 5 seconds gap overturned. 3 lap pressure tyres. There is the difference in tyre wear. And ultimately, Hampan looking to get a couple more points on the board in the top flight. Driver that on his day is up there. That day does not come often enough, especially in his eyes. Around Hungary is not at the best of pace, but he is sticking up there. And here he goes to the inside of Pickle. Takes P9. Takes P8. Pickle demoted to P9. And he will now have to deal with Edveer, who is charging up. He's got 13 laps. But he's also got Trappy as well, who is going to be closing up at a rate of knots that, wow, yeah, you can only imagine. Things settling down at the top then. Chill vibe out front for us, but for the drivers, I'm sure it's complete opposite of that. One slip up here will invite the other driver to pounce. that will be it. Everyone's settling into a real rhythm here. Rhythm, a word I've used a lot because it's Hungary. Monaco without the barriers, and Monaco is a track of tracks in terms of having a rhythm if you're not on it. But there's tyre barriers in it everywhere, so you'll be in them. And an Armco will quickly give one of your tyres a slap and remove it from the suspension, and that'll be race over. As Trappy already past Edvir. That gap was just 1.8 laps ago. Well, not even half a lap ago. Trappy may be causing some issues here for Pickle. And putting him, finally get to make this joke without it sounding too cheesy, put him in a bit of a pickle. And put him on the cusp of losing points yet again. Because he does have that penalty. And we now know what tyre everyone's on. Ash has quite a hefty penalty. And that'll be what Hampan will be drooling over. More of a mission than we thought for Pickle. That 3 seconds really going to invite Edvir into the mix to nick a point and save the pure embarrassment for Williams. Ash gets another 3, that's really not going to help him. That even puts Pickle in the mix for a PA finish, which he will be very happy about. But look at this. That is just incredible from Trappy. He's already up on the back of Pickle and he's in DRS. Just the grip advantage is unfathomable. Trappy might even be able to bag 7th here as he flies past Pickle. Pickle, I think, the driver who doesn't apply the brakes enough into the braking tools. That's something I've noticed. I know I'll be watching this, so like that, it's not at full brake pressure. Don't feel like he's putting enough steering lock when he's off throttle as well. To carry that little bit more minimum speed. He's not going full brakes. Is he running no ABS? If he is, that might make sense, but when you're really above 5th, 6th gear, you can go on full brake pressure. It's not going to trip out your ABS. Or a lack of ABS, sorry. But he has lost that 3 seconds to Edvir, so now he's really got to start putting his head down and pushing to snag a point from this. It's that gap out front opening up and the gap behind closing. 2 things you don't really want in racing, let's be honest. 9 laps to go here. The leaders really starting to spread out. Let's Pickle into the pits. What is this? Are you going to go for fastest lap or something? Or has he got some kind of damage on that car? Or does he just not want us to pressure him into a spinale? He could have gone to the end comfortably on them hard tyres. But feeling like they've not got enough grip. Feeling the chances of a podium. Being lost out of a podium? Of points being lost out. He dives into the pits. Looks to just get some track action here. Trappy. Bad time. A really bad time. Trappy here. All over the back of Hampan. In an attempt to promote himself to P8. He's already in provisional P7. But he wants it on track. And he might sniff a chance at Sammy if he can really put his head down whilst he's been gaining that 2 seconds a lap. And all things considered, you need about a second a lap. So if he can maintain this level, even if it drops off by a second and a half in the last couple of laps of the race, he will have it. So here he goes, up past Trappy, up past Hampan. Yeah, my brain's really fried. Jeepers. Playing too much Minecraft. And he moves himself up into P8. No penalties on the board so far. And his teammate next up the road, 3.5. Up the road is his teammate. Let's glance back to the leaders and evaluate how they've all done. We'll leave the evaluation of Kusky right to the end, barring who wins. As what's happened here? Edvir's dived into the pits then, looking to rise to the challenge. From Pickle onto the soft tyres he goes, and Pickle yet again within a shot of the points for Edvir on the soft compounder tyre, looking to get that position fair and square on track. And I'm sure within a matter of laps he'll be on the back of Pickle, looking to promote himself to on-track P-Tech. Trappy already closed in 1.1 here, but let's have a look. So, ended, solid race, solid end-dead race, and Trondek had a chance of sniffing of the podium, but poor traffic management with Trappy meant that he was gapped by over 2.8 seconds, and that was, oh well, over 2 seconds from what the gap was, I should say. Quite true. Sort of stagnated throughout the race. It's starting to come back into it late. Sort of had a lull towards the middle of the race, got overcutted by George. Got past George for some through connection, but Sammy gets a time penalty. That's going to invite Trappy into the mix for a P6 here, which would be an incredible comeback, considering he was stuck in that P9 earlier in the race. 2 seconds off the Pickle, 2 seconds ahead of the car behind, so in no man's land, but his strategy really paying off here late on. Jano Mistrats of running a harder compound later into the race, bolting the softs on and bolting past the competition. This is closing up, but yeah, quite true. He's driven a good one. It's not been his best, it's not been his worst. He's been thereabouts. He'll come away sort of in the middle about this race. He'll know there was more, but he'll know he did what he needed to do. He's already standing up on his own 2 feet. He just needs to reach the ceiling and start climbing. Once you can see it up there, you know there's so much further to go. As Trappy moves up one more, you can see the ladder of positions. And the next step is Sammy. P6, 5 seconds up the road, 2 seconds on the net, 6 laps. AlphaTauri on a mission. George, despite the disconnect, an incredibly well drove race from him. Robbed of the chance to get his second qualifying lap in. The driver who normally favours a race setup here has been dipping in form compared to Kusky, who's just that little bit quicker. But it's Hungary, it's near impossible to pass. Your tyres overheat quick, so he's not really got a real feel who's quick, who's slow here. As Ash bags DRS here, fuel warning. Saw a couple of drivers starting to come on. Might play a factor into the race as some people fuel for safety cars and have to manage fuel, which I never really got. I'd always stick about a lap extra in, although I used to use a lot of rich mixture in races. These days you just calculate the fuel burn, because you ultimately, Hungary is a track you need to save tyres anyway, so you might as well lift and coast, but I'd always stick 0.8 of a lap extra in, just in case. Which is odd for a driver who's so obsessive on finding that little bit of time here and there to set up and driving. I don't mind having that bit more fuel in, which probably cost me a couple of race wins, but pass is the pass. So that might have been an unintentional downshift from Quattro there. Apologies for the lack of content in this race. It's hit a real dip in the middle here, and with no real chance, no real fights that may cause a late race safety car. We are just sort of waiting here. Trappy has stagnated, his tyres starting to drop here. He's gaining, but not by what he needs to gain by. Sammy still looks to hold on to that P6. Bit making inroads on Pickle, but not as much as he'd expect. Pickle, I believe, running a setup that is killing the tyres, because he's good earlier in his stints, but as soon as the tyres could even have a slight bit of wear on them, he just drops. Which is about right for a Haas, but we're not in a realistic division here. Yellow flags for the Haas of Pickle, who has had a bit of a spincident and can see his last chances of points running away into the distance. Yet again, heartbreak for Pickle. Signline gets lapped by George. Not lapped by George. Lapped by Intronsic. He's sort of stuck with the back of the pack here, Ironland, but he's not really had anything to go off. Just having a drive, having some time trials here. Next up to lap him will be ended. Not sure if he'll get in. 12 seconds in 3 laps. It's a bit of an ask. It's Pickle out of the session. The tyres in the pits. Yet again, commiserations to Pickle. Another chance of points at the top flight. Gone. You have to feel for Pickle. It's not a Pickle. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when he gets 10 points on the board. Right now, despite that, he'll be inconsolable. Like I said, Veer to P10 confirmed. It's quite true. Starting to close in here. Trappy has to find a second to Sammy in 2 laps as his soft tyres really starting to degrade. Sammy's mediums though will start to do the same. An interesting dynamic there. Here though, Quattro just deciding to be a thorn in the side of George. Have a late run at it. Bit of time management throughout the stint meant he has a chance to do this, and being in DRS here would be quite critical for Quattro. Fastest lap wise, let's see how we're rocking. Quattro still just about has it, so even in P3 still holds the championship lead, but he will have a sniff of the 1-2 finish here, the maximum points for Red Bull. He'll see it and he will try. It might be in vain because it's at Hungary, but you never know here. Trappy starting to stagnate behind Sammy. His tyres starting to let him down here and overheat. Back. Might as well run things down, Sammy. Run the rest of things down. I did end dead and above. Sammy. Yeah, another strong one. He'll not be happy with the penalty, but ultimately he's got just 2 laps left on the board to hold a second, so that's quite intense, that fight there. We'll keep an eye on that. And Sammy Trappy, what a comeback from stagnating at P9 to P7. Ash, he drove just a solid race, but he will lose out that position. P8 to Hampan. Ed Veer as well, just drove an alright race. Ireland disappointing early on with that crash a couple laps in. He just cannot escape it at the moment. But once again, he will find form. It's a matter of if. Not a matter of if, not a matter of if, a matter of when, not if. like I usually say, same for Pickle. Just unlucky. Pickle, you're running tyres, setups that destroy your tyres, mate. That's your problem. No other way of putting it. You're running the wrong setups. Because your tyres were incredible pace in the first couple laps of your stint. And then they just fall off a cliff. They just die horrendously. That'll be your issue, mate. Try some different setups. All you need to do. Experiment, might as well, because the pace is there, mate. And the pace has been there for Kusky. Pole, he's led pretty much every lap of the race. He's not got fastest lap, but it'll be a return to form that is much needed for the Red Bull man. Yet again, 4 out of 5 races for Red Bull, 3 out of 5 for Kusky. He takes the win here in Division 1. George, a solid P2, and Quattro, a solid P3, unable to take him with that late charge. Quattro saying his wheel disconnected. Yeah, we saw it on stream. The little wiggle. That really prevented the late charge from having any substance to it for Quattro. But he still leaves here in the championship lead because of that fastest lap. And further down, well, it's going to be a tall order to gain 8 tenths in the last corner. So Sammy takes home P6. Trappy with the late charge on them softs. Stagnated as his tyres fell off the cliff. Pan. It will be P8 on track and P8. Ash is out of fuel. Crosses line. And Edbeer, he's got a red fuel warning as well. He'll cross the line in P10. Slap a point on the board for his team. Yeah. Not gonna lie, a snooze fest of a race. Some solid drives all round. Trappy gets driver of the day. My driver of the day, Kusky, just on top of it all race long. Gotta say, incredible. After the 2 poor races, he's back at it yet again, defying the laws of physics as he always does. And on to the top step, lifting the trophy, which he will be lifting not with victorious joy, which of course there'll be some of that behind that, but with relief, because he's still got it, and he closes the gap at the top to 1 point. Solid race from George, despite the disconnect. Still P2 and Quattro as well. A solid race. Gets his fastest lap, holds the championship lead. And Tronzik, decent race in P4. Same for Ended, same for Sammy. Same for Trappy, good comeback. Same for Hampan. Poor from Ash. He started P4, but maybe just running more of a quali setup because the race pace just wasn't there, despite Ash being quite an incredible driver. Edvia snuck a point because of Pickles. Misfortune, started 13, worked his way up, had decent pace at the start of his stints, but it just dropped off the cliff. Tyre pressures would have been his issue, and that would have been the reason why the rear end went for Pickle. Ayo, it meant, dropping back meant that I got to make my pickle in a pickle joke, which I've been looking to make since I saw that name first off. GG's to everyone. Strong race. Let's be real, it's just another one on the board. But at the end of the stream, we'll have a positive note and have a check what the next track is. Just quickly. And it is Abu Dhabi. One that can throw up a barnstormer. Or it can be the most boring race on planet Earth. I'll see you next week for Division 2 and Division 1, where we'll find out. So thank you very much for joining. This has been Division 1. HRA. Oh yeah, we'll see you next time. Have a good evening, guys. Ta-da.